Good morning. Happy Sunday morning to you. Snow everywhere. I get the car fired up. Gotta go get the stitches taken out of the eye. Let's talk about some misconceptions and comments that have been popping up lately on the channel that are just somewhat downright wrong. Let me get this thing fired up first. Yeah, she's a little cold today. Just let her warm up a little bit. Okay, she's been running for about 5 minutes. Starting to see stuff clear. These are those K&N graphite wipers or whatever the hell they're called. I'm gonna try those out real quick and see if they're stuck. Wow, yeah, I guess those K&N wipers don't get stuck. So now that we're moving along, I get comments on the channel all the time about people saying stuff like, well, it sucks that Ford only lets you use 5W20. Ford only lets you use 0W20. Ford only lets you use 5W30. And I asked them, I said, where do you get this information from? Well, because I went to this web page, or that's what my oil cap says, or that's what my local dealer or independent shop or grandma's uncle's cousin's brother said. And I'm thinking, since when does nobody not pick up a damn manual? Do you not open your manual for your car at all? It clearly states in the manual in most vehicles that you have a temperature range in which you can operate different oils in, and if they overlap with each other, you can operate that oil in your car. Everybody thinks because an EcoBoost is such a dirty motor and it's so problematic, I don't know, not problematic, it requires such, quality maintenance to keep it up a lot sooner than what the manufacturer says, that you have to run 5W20 oil in that motor. And it's such a complete bullshit, misconception. If you look in the owner's manual, it'll tell you between this range and this range and this range, and that range and that range, these two overlap, and 5W30 can be used in place of 5W20, or this can be used in place of that. I mean, hell, I know it's case in point, I know it's not necessarily an automobile, but when I started restoring my generator, my old US General generator from I don't think it's back in the mid-90s or something like that, it gave you 3 different temperature ranges in which you can operate that generator in. And it gave you 3 different weight oils that in some instances between, I would say, 15 to 30 degrees, there was an overlap, which any of those weights of oil in the temperature and the climate that I live in could be used because they all fit within the same category, which means that those weights of oil, no matter what I did in this climate, could be used in an engine with a VCT setup or timing setup that's critical for proper oil flow and stuff like that. It was designed to react in that environment with those different types of oil. So make sure you pull your owner's manual out and check your owner's manual and see the temperature at which your climate typically is in, what oil you can run inside that vehicle. And you'll find that you can run a 5W30 in your 5W20 motor in the climate that you live in. You'll find in a lot of instances that there are other options that you have been saying all along that there are not other options, and there sure as hell are. You just have to be willing to take a second to open that manual, and sure enough, right in the manual, which every owner should be using, and if you have a newer vehicle, your manual may be in your actual radio screen, which basically, the newer ones that I've played around with, you can put basic functions like oil in a search glass like a little magnifying glass, click on it, and then type in oil and then search. And sure enough, everything that's in that manual that's about oil pops up right through the computer screen. And you can sit there and read it, or in some instances, it will read the damn thing to you. So there's no excuse why people shouldn't be somewhat knowledgeable about their own damn vehicle other than just pure, downright laziness. Another topic. I get statements like this all the time. Well, it sucks that I can't use synthetic oil in my vehicle because Ford says you're supposed to use semi-synthetic oil in the vehicle. Well, who the hell said that? That spec inside that book? That spec at the dealership? That's the minimum spec at which they want that vehicle to operate. And nobody's breaking your arm saying that you have to run semi-synthetic oil. Nobody's breaking your arm telling you that's what you have to do. You have choices. When they are using semi-synthetic oil, that's at the lowest cost of quality that they would want to put in that vehicle. You can step it up. You can go to a synthetic oil like a Pennzoil Platinum Ultra or a Mobil 1 full synthetic advanced formula, or like the Castrol Gold series, the 20,000 mile rated stuff. You can go to those synthetic oils, or you can go to 100% synthetic oil, which is like an AMSOIL or a Redline or something like that. You can do those as well. But nobody said that you can't do that. I think people get bad information offline in other people that are not in the automotive field or don't actually understand what goes on with these vehicles, and they hold it near and dear to their heart as like the ultimate words of wisdom, like it's Bible. They have to do exactly what this person says, and that's not the case at all. Semi-synthetic is the minimum at which they would recommend putting in that vehicle. It's not what they're saying you have to put in there. You can put a full synthetic oil in your vehicle and you're completely fine. There's not a manufacturer that I know of that says you have to put semi-synthetic oil in that vehicle and you can't do any better than that. It's hogwash. Why somebody would even think that, again, I guess I'm being a little critical, boggles my mind. On to the next topic. I have people say stuff like this all the time. Well, that's why an oil analysis is important. Because if I get my oil analysis and it says I can run an extra 2,000 miles, send in a sample and check again, well, that's what I'm going to do. Why? Just because the oil analysis says you can run longer doesn't mean that's what's optimal for the vehicle. I get a kick out of it when people say shit like that. So it's like, I cheated on my girlfriend with one girl, but I can probably get away with doing it 2 or 3 more times before getting caught. So maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should try to get at least 1 or 2 more out of it. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Playing with fire, unless you like playing with fire, if you know what I mean. The same way with your vehicle. I've put 4,000 miles on this oil, and it says I can run another 3,000 safely, so I should try to get that out of it. Just because you can, doesn't mean you should. And just because you see a report that comes back from a specific entity that you choose to put your faith in, doesn't mean that entity's all they're cut out to be either, testing wise. I've heard a lot of good and bad things about specific facilities and things that they've been involved in. Now, we're not going to get into the middle of that because I used testing facilities for just generic information as well. But just because you have dirty oil that looks like shit, but an analysis report comes back and says you could run it a few more thousand and recheck just to see what you can get out of it, doesn't mean a fuck to me. That just means that you're being a cheap ass and don't want to change your oil. And I hear people, oh, you're just wasting money. You're just wasting money. That's a vehicle that you rely on to get you from point A to point B. I don't think there's anything wasting about that. Being preventative about the maintenance, come on. Let's wake up a little bit here and realize how stupid that sounds when people say stuff like that. On to the next topic. Oftentimes I get comments like, well, I just run a Motorcraft filter. It's the best for the vehicle. I just run the OEM filter. It's the best for the vehicle. You know, the Motorcraft filter being a good, safe base filter because of the bypass design sitting on the top of the filter is the only reason why I would typically choose a Motorcraft filter, because of the safety design behind it. No other reason why. It's not because the filter material is superior. It's not because the can strength is superior. It's not because anything about that filter is more superior than any other filter other than the bypass valve design. They stick the bypass valve in the top of the filter. The reason I like a Motorcraft filter versus other OEM filters, the only reason why, is because of the bypass valve design. They're the only manufacturer that I know of, I think there might be one other, I just don't remember right now, that has the bypass valve in the top of the filter. So on cold starts, you are literally bypassing because oil can't flow through the media until it starts to warm up a little bit, and that bypass has to open. So you're actually running unfiltered oil through the motor for, you know, some time before you can actually get oil flow through the filter pleats. Well, with that being said, I don't like my bypass on the bottom of the filter because any kind of debris or junk that may be built up that may come dislodged from that filter media face could actually wash down into the bottom of it and right back up into the motor. Where the Motorcraft bypass sitting in the top of the filter won't allow that to happen because of the location of where it's at. So, I'm sorry, I just saw a car run off the road and there's nobody in it. That's the only reason why I would choose an OEM filter, is because of maybe the bypass design or something to that extent. But most of the OEM filters that I've cut open, they're nothing special. There's nothing special about them. Actually, a lot of the OEM filters that I've cut open are trash. A lot of them are very, very low quality. They're made by companies like like Fram that have the lower end line. You guys know I like the Fram Ultra and Titanium because they're the most efficient, best built synthetic blend and full synthetic filters on the market for the price. There's no other filter on the market other than AMSOIL that comes close to the Fram Ultra. It's a 99% efficient 20 micron rating. The AMSOIL one is too, but there's no other filter that does that. And that's Fram's higher end. And what has brought them the bad reputation is people in their orange can filter, so now they just automatically take what they've seen from the orange can junk filter from Fram and they apply it to all the other filters as well, when they probably typically don't realize that the vehicle that they're driving has a Fram made OEM filter. Yeah, you know how many filters I've cut open that have OEM stamping on it and pull it apart and Fram is the one that actually builds the filter for them? Yeah, so that's why I get a kick out of people. A lot of them are full of shit when they say things. They see stuff on the internet because one person said this, or you know, a handful or a group of people said that, it must be true. Now, I wouldn't put a $3 filter on my vehicle because I give a shit about my vehicle. I find that people that put $3 filters on their vehicle typically find a good budget one that actually is of good quality, and, you know, I'm not saying they don't care. They've actually found something cheaper that's more cost effective, and they do care. Or the biggest majority of them, they don't really give a shit. They just want to throw whatever cheap filters on the car because they don't care about maintaining it. People that actually care about maintaining their vehicle typically put the money into decent products, or they find products that are cheaper that are really decent. The majority of people just put some cheap shit on their filter just to say, oh yeah, I got an oil filter on it, and don't realize the repercussions for what they're doing until the motor's toast or locked up or something, or whatever. Same thing, toast. Yeah, so I beat that enough. On to the next topic. I had a guy leave a comment on one of my Marvel Mystery Oil videos last night. Yeah, a lot of people got on me because I wasn't really used to using Marvel Mystery Oil a lot when I made the Dodge Ram like videos on using it to see how good it actually cleans out the varnished carboned up motor. It was actually working very, very well. Hundreds of thousands of views on those videos combined. And people would pop up and say stuff like, it's not Marvel Mystery Oil, it's Mystery Marvel Oil, or it's not Mystery Marvel Oil, it's this. Guys, I don't care what the name is. You guys knew exactly what I was talking about. So if it makes you feel better and empowered that you're correcting somebody because they didn't say something correct, then by all means do so. But I think that's kind of like a bullshit coward thing to do, because you wouldn't do it to my face, and yet you feel like you're empowered to do it. I'm trying to let you know you're being an idiot. What I don't get is sorry, snowy area. What I don't get is how people want to correct you, and you're the one that uses it more than them. The one guy said, actually it wasn't one guy, it was a couple guys that said, well, I only use it right before an oil change. I put it in there and let my vehicle run for about 10 minutes and then I just flush it out. Okay, what do you think you're doing? Well, it's a fast-acting chemical. No, it's not. There's nothing fast-acting about that. Actually, on the bottle, it specifies on how to run it through a full oil lifespan in that vehicle, a full service interval in that vehicle. It wants you to replace 20%. It wants you to replace 20% of what you're dealing with in that vehicle, whether it be 020, 520, 530, 1030, with MMO. And there's nothing fast acting about it. And just putting some in before your oil change, if you get a little cleaning, great, but you're not doing very much with that product. That product's meant to be left in your oil and run. So even the people that think they fucking know it all seem to be the biggest jokesters ever, and I sit back and laugh at them, and I'm like, well, you guys are clowns, man. Some of y'all are fucking clowns. I just wish I could educate you or work with you just so I could teach you something, just so you can let go of some of the stupidity that you've believed for so long. It amazes me, all the people out here that think they actually know what they're talking about, and they're out there working with other people. And then you got people that really, really do care, and they're like, you know what? It's actually a slow-acting product. It's kind of similar to transmission fluid, except it has a better additive package, a different cleaning package and stuff in it, and they talk to you, but it's like, wow, it's nice to actually listen and talk to somebody that actually cares. It's nice to learn from somebody else that I don't have to go digging myself and be taught from one of the commenters or subscribers, because they have been using it longer and they are more experienced with it. It's amazing. Whenever Trouble contacted me about the oil-based undercoating stuff, he used it a hell of a lot more than I have. He knows way more about it than I did. I listened to everything that he had to say at the time that we were on the phone, and then I took that and applied it to my application of this oil, and then I went and did some of my own research as well, and it continued to further my education on how to spray oil-based protectants before winter underneath your vehicle. I didn't know anything about that stuff. I had to research it first, and then I had to find the right tools instead of cheap tools to get the job done. I didn't claim to know it all. Actually, I was saying I don't know until I've sprayed it half a dozen times now, and I know a little bit more about the product, and I can see what it does. And now I've sprayed my vehicle with it, and we're in the middle of winter, and it's doing great. It hasn't washed off the vehicle or anything at all months later. I don't claim to know everything. It's just shocking when people say stupid things like Marvel Mystery Oil. It's a fast-acting product. No, it's not. Get that out of your head. It's not really meant to be run right before an oil change. It doesn't do a ton right before an oil change. It's meant to be run long-term. Maybe if you wanted to shorten it up and do the last 500 miles of your oil, before you changed it, that would work better than 10 minutes before you change your oil, for God's sake. The stupidity that I hear come from people, and the things that people say is astounding sometimes. Now, to close this up, I've said everything that I've needed to say this morning without holding you on here even longer. We've been on here long enough, for God's sake, right? Probably saying to yourself, shut up already, go on to the next topic. There's nothing wrong with an OEM filter if that's what you want to use. Just realize that OEM filters are typically built to only filter at the minimum rating that manufacturer requires to keep that vehicle healthy, which would be like a 30 micron rating. People typically strive to have the best filter on their vehicle, the most efficient at the lowest micron. Now, an OEM Ford filter filters at about 99% efficiency at 30 microns. That's a pretty standard generic filter. It does have a better safety technology built into the bypass versus other manufacturers, but it's not the best or even one of the nicer filters on the market per filtering. What you want to look at is something like an AMSOIL filter, Fram Ultra, Fram Titanium, Pure Later Boss, Royal Purple, Man, something like them, one of those filters. They filter at a really, really, really good rate. Some of them have a deep synthetic media type that traps. It doesn't have to have a lot of media, but it has deep, thick media, and it traps it in different pores, different layers of how that media is built. A lot of people think because it's not a blend, or it's not, 10 times longer than your standard filter, that it's not going to filter better, and that's completely not true. I've heard a lot of people say, well, look at how much longer this filter is compared to that filter. Well, yeah, you're looking at a cellulose media versus a synthetic media. A synthetic media has technology built into it to where it doesn't have to be as long as cellulose. It's thicker, and it has a deep bedding technology built into it where it traps in layers, not so much on the surface like cellulose media. Again, comes back to people saying stupid shit and not actually understanding how the filter works, or even close to. I don't even understand everything about every single manufacturer, but I understand enough to know when I'm looking at something why this filter is probably better than that filter, and why I'm paying $5 more for this filter versus that filter. OEM filter's good, but there are definitely better filters out there that are more protecting for the engine. The Fram Ultra, 99% efficient at 20 micron, 93% efficient at 15 micron, and 74% efficient at 10 micron. There's no filter on the market that does that. I think there's one heavy duty filter. It's like not a Baldwin, but a Donaldson or something like that, and it's made for trucks, and it's 99% efficient at 15 microns, and it's a fully synthetic media throughout that entire filter, and there's a lot of it, and it's a very long filter, but that's for the heavy duty industry. It's not for automotive. So the top 3 filters for me that I know, that I see on the market, are going to be the AMSOIL filter, the Fram Ultra, and the Fram Titanium, and the Purelator Boss. Those are my top 4 filters on the market that I would go to and not hesitate at all. AMSOIL, Purelator Boss, Fram Ultra, Fram Titanium. Best filters by far on the market. And the Fram line is actually more cost effective than the other 2. So be conscious of that. Y'all be blessed. Have a great day.